Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second class of Exploring and Living in the Path. For those of you who joined us last month for our first class, we would have heard Venerable Drachom talking about Lamrim and the Guru, listened to so many inspiring stories about his own personal experiences with the Guru, and also really contemplated and meditated on the fact that the Lamrim is so very important. As Venerable Drachom was saying, to get from the apple seed to the actual apple tree, that takes effort. So are we prepared to do what it takes to get to a better state of being? In other words, to get to the state of enlightenment. The whole process takes work. It's not something that we can just wish for. So to continue with the whole path to a better state of being, we have Guido now from Indonesia joining us today to talk about, in fact, two different topics. The jewel that we have now, which is the precious human rebirth, and the fact that it can really be something that is taken away from us at any point. In other words, the part two of the topic, which is the certainty of death. So Guido will elaborate on the teachings that Captain Lama Zopa Rinpoche gives on these two very important topics. A little bit about Guido first. He is the SPC of the Potowa Project, has been so for the past 20 years. And the Potowa Project in our region, in the East and Southeast Asia region, is very unique because of its position of being able to revive Mahayana Buddhism in Indonesia, which is what they have been fully committed to doing for the past 20 years. So in all this time, they have worked tirelessly, just a small team, to translate hundreds of Buddhist texts, books also by Lama Zopa Rinpoche and Lama Ven.Dechen. And at the same time also, they have conducted groundbreaking research into Borobudur, the world's largest Buddhist monument, which is recognized by the Indonesian government. And in fact, they even provide training for the tour guides for Borobudur. So because of this unique position, I actually encourage Guido to also talk to us a little bit about their work, which is so unusual and so special, in order to give us a richer context for understanding the environment within which they operate. They are students, right, of Mahayana Buddhism. So I will leave it to you now, Guido. The stage is yours, and we look forward very much to your session. Okay.
Thank you, Selena. Hello, everyone. Hello, Venerables. Thank you, everyone, for coming on this lovely Sunday. My name is Guido Schwarze, and thank you for the introduction, Selena. I have been the SPC of initially Potowa Center since the early 2000s or 2000, and I feel very honored and privileged and very happy to be part of this program and to have this opportunity to share with you, to chat with you a little bit about Rinpoche's teachings. And today I will be sharing with you primarily about the teachings of our most beloved Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And specifically, I'll be sharing about some contemplations on the precious human rebirth and also on the benefits of death awareness. So first of all, I would like to, maybe we can prepare our mind and body with a short meditation. So we can sit up straight and start with a breathing meditation. And probably to relax, we can do a brief body scan. We can relax the crown, our whole body, starting with the crown of our head, and then relaxing our forehead and the eyes. You know, the eyes are maybe either closed or cracked open just a little bit and very relaxed. And then the cheeks are relaxed, the jaw is relaxed, the mouth is relaxed, the throat is relaxed, and also relax your shoulders. Because usually if we're tight and tense, the shoulders also tend to become tense. So relax the shoulders and the lungs and the heart, the tummy, the upper arms and the forearms, the hands, the legs, calves, our feet and the toes. And now let's just breathe. Breathe very naturally and very relaxed, not forcing anything, not making it deeper or shallower, longer or shorter. Just breathe naturally. And let's just luxuriate. Let's just enjoy the breath and be completely aware of the breath and let the mind settle in its natural state. So now that we're already relaxed, we can start by generating a virtuous motivation, a positive motivation for our session today. So let's think that we will be spending the next 2 hours, 1.5 or 2 hours, thinking that we want to learn from Rinpoche's teachings. We'll be watching Rinpoche's videos and we will absorb as much as possible, not just for ourselves, but also for the benefit of others. Let's think that today we're extremely fortunate to be together here today and to have the opportunity to contemplate deeply about Rinpoche's teachings. Okay, so now we can go to the next slide. The next slide, and start with the prayers. Let's just recite it together 3 times. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Now the next one will be the 4 immeasurables. Let's also read it contemplatively, not just as a ritual, but let's connect with our heart, with a heart of love and compassion. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and anger that hold some close and others distant. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and anger that hold some close and others distant. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and anger that hold some close and others distant. Okay, thank you. So just very briefly today, the itinerary for today will be, first there will be an introduction about the activities of Potowa Project, and specifically also about the Borobudur Project. And then we'll also have the opportunity to watch 2 videos of Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche's teachings. And then we'll review the main points together. And there will be also a sharing session and a discussion with question and answers. Okay, just let's start with Potowa's projects. So I'm aware that now we're called the Potowa Project, but in fact, we actually have many, many projects. So the first one is the research on Borobudur, which I will elaborate more on in the next slides. And then we also had, before that, we did a research on the Muara Jambi University, which is very exciting because for Indonesia, it was very exciting to know that Indonesia had an Ivy League university, a world-class university par excellence, on par with Nalanda University, with Sera, with Drebung, and with Ganden, you know, a very great university. And other activities that Potowa members are doing is we've been doing a lot of translations of books, sadhanas, practices, sutras, and also suttas. We've been doing it already for the past 20 years. We have a very big team, maybe about 50 people who are involved in doing the translations and editing and publishing as well. I believe we've also translated dozens of sadhanas from FPMT and also books from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Lama Yeshe, Solis Dalai Lama, and so forth. It's still ongoing. Translations, we're also very unique in the sense that in Indonesia, it's not that much of an English-speaking nation. So the purpose of doing the translations is not only for the readers, but also what we found is that the translators have received enormous benefit by doing the translations because it makes the mind very, very sharp. It forces one to study very, very deeply and to understand very deeply. So that's some of the things we're doing. And we've also translated sutras, long ones, medium ones, you know, the Dharmankara Sutra, the Sangata Sutra, and you name it, you know, many, many sutras, and also suttas from the Pali tradition. And why do we also do the suttas? It's because Indonesia the Buddhist Indonesia use the Pali suttas as a reference. So we're also doing a lot of translations from the sutta tradition, from the Pali tradition. So, and besides that, we also have weekly meditation, and we do Guru Pujas fortnightly, and Tara Pujas, and Medicine Buddha Pujas. And we also have Dharma discussions, Nyungne retreats, which we do annually every year, and also what we call Belabar Lebaran, which is a 1 week to 10-day retreat, which we do annually, where Mr. Salim Lee is the main speaker in that event. And then we also have a youth retreat, which we call Remaja retreat. And for school age children, young people, and we also have like between 20 to 40 people joining every year. And on every Vesaka, we also have a full day puja, followed by a cooking together event. So we cook together. The last time we did this event, we cooked 550 portions of you know, food made with a lot of love, the main ingredient is love, and we cook it ourselves. So we don't subcontract, but we do it ourselves. We put in the effort, and we share the love with other people, especially for the poor, the homeless, and street vendors, which we have a lot of those in Jakarta, and also in Greater Jakarta, in the surroundings. We also have visits to nursing homes, to the elderly. The purpose is to take care of the lonely. We do it at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. This is also a great way to share love, especially because old homes in Indonesia are not very often, they have limited resources, and they also have, the children very often don't visit the parents. So we go there and share our love. We give massages, we sing songs with them, we eat together, and also we share things, whatever they need, blankets, foods, and stuff. And the other event is called the Jade Buddha visit. So we have a Jade Buddha, a smaller version of the Jade Buddha. It's made of the same polarized translucent jade. It's very, very beautiful. The carved Buddha is very, very handsome. So it attracts a lot of people. So we do these tours. We do them usually, it was before COVID, but now we're going to start again. So during the COVID period, it's mostly been online. But what we do is we take along this 40-kilogram beautiful Buddha statue, and we go to monasteries, especially monasteries in distant locations that have limited access to Dharma, there are very few monks teaching there, and we go there and we share with them the knowledge that we gained from Lama Zopa Rinpoche's teachings on bodhicitta, compassion, and everything else. So this is also a great way to practice generosity, to share with, to share with also not just, those related with Potowa Center, but also to other viharas and other Buddhist groups all over Indonesia. We've also been doing it in Sumatra, in Medan, in Bandung, and Central Java, and other parts of Indonesia. Okay, so next slide. This will be just a brief overview about the Borobudur project. You can find more details on bumiborobudur.com. But just very briefly, we started research on Borobudur about more than 10 years ago, maybe in 2006 or 2007. And it's been very consistent. And as a result of our research, we've identified all the 1,460 narrative panels have been identified and matched with the relevant texts and sutras. This is really exciting because in Indonesia, Borobudur is widely known, but very often, in most cases, people don't really understand what it's about. People know it's a Buddhist monument, but most people don't know what it's about. So as a result of this process of identification, perhaps for the first time in many hundreds of years, the Borobudur can now be understood more fully in terms of its values, its teachings, and its wisdom. And this is what we want to share with the whole of Indonesia and also with the whole world. Okay, next slide. So this Borobudur as a background is very different compared to other big monuments in the world. I mean, monuments that were built by big kingdoms were mostly built, for the sake of showing the grandeur of the kingdom and the wealth, whereas in Borobudur, the concept was entirely different. The kingdom at the time built the Borobudur entirely for the benefit of its people. So the Borobudur constitutes a complete roadmap for the development of the human potential. So Borobudur, it promotes family values, and it promotes the cultivation of family and society that is ethical, tolerant, harmonious, and respectful to each other. it shows a skilled way of living a life, leading a life of love and sensitivity towards others by fostering a caring and a caring attitude, a caring and meaningful and beneficial attitude to others. So realizing the purpose is for us to realize the opportunity that each of one has at this moment as a human being, the incredible, and in Rinpoche's words, it would be unbelievable human potential and opportunity that we have to perfect our potentials, our abilities, and to ultimately experience the highest possible state of awakening. Okay, next slide, please. So Bumi Borobudur, the activities we call this division Bumi Borobudur, this project. So the activities include disseminating the wisdom and knowledge of the Borobudur through talks, discourses, workshops, and also publication of books to bring out the these valuable teachings to the world. Borobudur is truly a great treasure of the world. And we believe that the whole world should know what it's about. The universal teachings contained in them, the human values, the basic human values are just so valuable. And we really are committed to make this knowledge available to the whole world. So our activities include conducting continuous research and studies of Borobudur with regard to its historical, cultural, archaeological, and religious aspects. Identifying and translating relevant sutras and texts. This is also a Herculean task. So Borobudur contains, it's an amazing monument, the way it was built. The ingenuity is totally flabbergasting, it's amazing. So it contains the lower part is a depiction of is an analysis of karma as the basis, and then it progresses through the Bodhisattva's activities through the Jataka, the birth stories of the Buddha and the Avadana. Then it progresses through the Lalita Vistara, as well as to finally the Ganavyuha. And the Ganavyuha also contains what is known now as the King of Prayers, the Samantabhadra Charya Arya Pranidhana Raja. So this is very exciting. So we've translated all the texts back into Indonesian. Some of them were available in Chinese, in the Chinese Mahayana tradition. So, and we have translated them all into Indonesian. So just as an example, the Ganavyuha is about more than 1,000 pages long. The Lalita Vistara is about 400 pages. And, you know, the Jataka stories, all of them have been translated. And we're looking forward to publishing all of these books as books, and there will be in total, we have already published the first ebook, which is about 240 pages with a lot of pictures, which provides a general overview of the Borobudur from its historical context, cultural context, and it's been received really, really well. And the first public event we had, that was still before the COVID, there were a few hundred people attended, about 400 or 500 people attended. And the online event, the following online events were attended by sometimes by over 1,000 people. And it's very exciting to finally be able to bring this wisdom back to Indonesia and to the world. So, so we'll have maybe for the beginning, maybe the books will be published gradually, but there will be at least 13, 14, 15 books. And the book on karma will be about maybe 4 fingers thick, the book will be 4 fingers thick, you know, so it will be a very detailed book about karma. So we also organize seminars, symposia, and training events related to Borobudur. We had seminars recently also led by Mr. Salim Lee, and it was received very, very enthusiastically. The last event, there were about 235 people attending, and 8 sessions, and each session would last 5 to 6 hours. And that Salim Lee said that that's actually just scratching the surface. You know, that's just scratching the surface. So we will be committed. We will keep doing it into the future, and we hope, and we feel that we are extremely lucky because we have this opportunity now. You know, in Indonesia, you know, we have this great opportunity to do good, and all the conditions are favorable, are fortunate at this moment, and it's challenging, but because it's something of monumental importance, we are very committed to complete this work, and as a result of this, you know, our work has also been recognized by the Indonesian government, even up to the president of Indonesia, and also we're working with universities, with ministries, and the side benefit would be an increased economic activities in Central Java, and there will be a lot of trade going. There will also be more tourism. We expect a rise in tourism, but it's not just for the economic benefit. We really, you know, want to make. We want people who come to Borobudur not just to use Borobudur as a backdrop, but to really, we want Borobudur to touch their hearts, you know, to know the value of kindness. Borobudur would actually be very fittingly called a monument of kindness, a monument of compassion, because that's what it is. It's all about how to lead life really well with a good heart and with wisdom. More on that later. And so we've also been collaborating with the educational sector, government and the public, universities, and introducing in-depth knowledge and wisdom of the Borobudur via study groups, both within and outside of Indonesia. We've had our first English session, Salim Lee led it last December, and it was also received really, really well. I think this work is really a breakthrough. Nobody's gone into the detail that we've gone into, and we believe that this will bring a lot of benefit, you know, to Indonesia and to the whole world by, you know, sharing the human values to the world. All right. So briefly, this is just to give another short description about another project that we did before, was ascertaining Muara Jambi as a university, as the oldest and longest standing university in Indonesia. More on that, you can find it on sudimuja.com. We also have it in English. So just very briefly, Candi Muara Jambi was previously very often considered to be just the headquarters of the Sriwijaya kingdom. But through our research, we've been able to identify, we've been able to, you know, to make the Indonesian government and also the entire archaeological society, we've been able to convince them by providing them a lot of evidence, archaeological evidence, and also a text that Muara Jambi was not a fortress or just the center of the kingdom's government, but that it was a very great university, estimated to date from the 7th until the 13th century of the Common Era. So the Sriwijaya, so the Muara Jambi University, you know, Nalanda was known to be a great university in the world. It's 4 hectares large. And just to compare, Muara Jambi is 3,981 hectares large. It's almost 1,000 times bigger. And what was studied in the university were the 5 great subjects, which are now still studied in the great universities of Sera, Drachom, and Ganden. So, you know, when we presented this to the government, they were so happy. And this is something that Indonesia can really be proud of. It's like discovering that we had an Ivy League, world-class Ivy League university in the country. You know, it's amazing. So we also translated a book from I Ching's travels to Indonesia, which shows very clearly that this was the university, suggests very clearly. And of course, we know from the Lamrim tradition, this is where Atisha Dibamkara Srijana went to study under the feet of the great Buddhist master Acharya Serlingpa Dharmakirti. Okay, next slide. Briefly, Lama Serlingpa Dharmakirti was considered to be a very great master of his time, a great teacher. So why we also did this research is also to connect it with Borobudur, because there must be, just the fact that Borobudur was built, it indicates that it must have been the golden age of Dharma in Indonesia, of Buddha Dharma. And also there must have been a very, very highly advanced educational institution in place. So we know that from the commentarial manuscripts, from the Tengyur collection, we know that there are at least 6 works of Dharmakirti, which is listed here, from the Abhisamaya Alamkara Nama Prashna Paramita Ubudesha Sastra Vritti Dubroda Aloka Amatika is one of a very great, constitutes the magnus opus of Acharya Dharmakirti's works. So this is an extraordinary work on Mahayana philosophy. So why we listed this here is that we really hope that among the audience we can, somebody can help us to get these texts from the Tibetan translated into English so that we can bring it back, translate it back into Indonesian and bring it back to its origins, to Indonesia. We've written a letter to Geshe Tutum Jimpa, and we've also written a letter to the LTWA and to some other, and also to Drachom Rinpoche. And we know that they're all very, packed, their schedule is packed, but we really hope that soon, one day, we'll be able to get hold of these texts and bring it back to its origins, to Indonesia. Okay, that's briefly on some of the activities that we're doing. So now is the time to watch the video. Is it, if you could share the video, it will be a 10-minute video on the precious human rebirth.
Oh, just mention briefly, I took that. So train step by step the meditation, to realization. So by train the mind, as it mentioned, the teachings. You realize the 8 freedom conditions that the body has, and so precious. Then, not only gold, diamond, and sapphire, even which grand jewel has even billion, zillion, trillion dollars. Oh, this human body is so much precious than billion, zillion dollar is nothing. So that say wish granted, for example, more precious than diamond is the wish granted jewel. Whatever you pray for the temporary needs of this life, you get everything. But from that you cannot. With that you can't get. With that you can't purify the cause of Lord and get higher birth. With that, with that alone, practice 3 trainings and achieve the realizations of the path to nirvana can happen, can achieve ultimate happiness. With that, you can't. With that alone, you can't. It doesn't have mind, so it doesn't have suffering. Doesn't have mind, doesn't have suffering. So how can there's no way to generate? There's no way. Yeah. Anyway, so there's no way to generate compassion. Bodhicitta, then enter in the path, and then achieve enlightenment. But by having this precious human body, then you can get the opportunity to purify past negative karma, to cause the Lord and to reach a higher birth, and to practice take refuge in the karma, protect karma, so they get higher birth. Practice morality and get a higher birth. And then 3 trainings, and then you get liberation. And then you gives this, and then with this gives the opportunity to practice compassion, bodhicitta, and then gives the enlightenment, able to achieve enlightenment from this. Even you don't have any wish kind jewel or any diamond or gold or sapphire, any jewels, any rubies, any dollars, like Milarepa. Milarepa didn't have any rupees in dollars, no rupees. So the thieves came to look for money, in the cave, we could not find anything. So they make soup, the nettle. Then they asked for chili and salt. And Milarepa said, this is the chili nettle. Then you put nettle. This is salt. You put nettle. So they, so it didn't have one single rupee. But it achieved enlightenment. But use the more precious human body, which is every freedom tradition is wanted to achieve enlightenment. So the University of Bajadari in this brief lifetime of degenerate time, so they achieved that. So they didn't have even 1 rupee, $1. Like that, you see. So the human body, so the human body, so the human body you have, which every most unbelievable, precious, so precious than which kind jewel. Then even sky full of which kind jewel, and this more precious than sky full of which kind jewel. How precious 단조도 때문에 나와방 내가르나 지나도 다음에 아니 치와면 다 붙잖아 이 내가 던전도나 때문에 나와방 if you see the great meaning of life, the life is so meaningful, then you don't waste your life. You give up the meaningless works. Meaningless works, you give up. We waste your life, you give up. If you see the meaning so meaningful, if you think this is so difficult to find again, this is so difficult to find again. Then if you find this so difficult to find again, then you cannot, without practicing Dharma, without making life meaningful, worthwhile, without practicing Dharma, then you can't just relax, you can just waste time by following attachment, just waste time. Just the meaningless activities, so just waste life, unable to do that. If you find this difficult to, so difficult to find again, then try to make this, by practicing Dhamma, try to make this meaningful. Then by thinking that, and then and then by thinking that you don't, you see the appearance of this life. We always think, oh, I'm going to live a long time. Always, even the same day when you're going to have accident, same day when you're going to accident or going to be going to sick by heartache or whatever, or suddenly you're going to a heartache or same day, from morning when you get up, oh, I'm going to put money here, so things like that. So even 5 minutes before a car accident, you die, oh, I'm going to put money here. So the cheating, the concept of permanence. So you see the life. So in the impermanence life, then instead of thinking long, concept permanence falling, then you see the life is very short, and then able to, because that makes able to practice Dharma and complete realizations.
All right, thank you. Maybe we can go to the next slide. I wanted to give a short introduction, explanation about a story, basically about how I first met Rinpoche, before commenting on the
Hello,
Rinpoche's.
Tashitele.
Hello.
I would like to say a little bit about general meaning of
sorry.
Mondo.
There's a.
Mondo means foundational practice.
Can you switch this?
And this practice, the foundational practice, is like when you want.
Okay, sorry. So I met Rinpoche back in 1997 when I attended the Kopan course. So what prompted me to join the FPMT, the Kopan course, was actually because of suffering. I had a lot of suffering in life. I mean, when I was young, I was bullied for many, many years. And then I was just basically noticing a lot of the suffering around me. One of the things also was that I believe it was in 1990, my cousin in the US, he died and he was only 16 or 17 years old. And that made me question a lot about life. And he was this, young and intelligent guy, really nice guy, very kind. He never hurt anyone. So my first reaction was, well, how could God do this? And I prayed so hard for him to be cured. And he went to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and that didn't really help. And eventually he died from the brain tumor, from brain cancer. And then I joined the Kopan course of 1997, and I was so fortunate. I felt so fortunate. The first 2 weeks were led by Venerable Dondru, Neil Elliott, which was really amazing. Very kind and very compassionate, very, very wise. I could really feel his love, and the following 2 weeks were led mostly by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, especially the evening, afternoon and evening teachings. And what struck me was that Rinpoche had this incredible aura of kindness and compassion, and it was just amazing to be in the presence of a holy being, somebody who's just radiating so much love. Was just unbelievable to me. It really affected me very deeply. And of course, I also met with Geshe Lama Lundrup and other great teachers in Kopan. Others that I cannot recall all of them, but that was quite really transformative. And then I went back to Indonesia, and in less than a year, I had in a few months after that, actually, I had a motorcycle accident and I broke my leg in many places. It was really painful, and I was wheelchair bound for about 3 months and was in crutches for 6 months, and had a second operation to remove the pins and the plates, the titanium plates. So that was a time of great learning for me. So suffering was a great teacher for me. And that was in 1998 when I also more fully understood Rinpoche's teachings. So that's just a short with the way I got introduced to Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And I also received a letter, a personal letter from Rinpoche, where I asked a question, and Rinpoche so lovingly, answered my question very selflessly and very lovingly, which I keep today now on the altar. This letter, I keep it on the altar. So anyway, the video just now that we watched is about appreciating our human life, the precious human rebirth, our life. Very often we take it so much for granted, and we very often look at the things that are going wrong in life, and we miss out, we don't appreciate all the things that are going right. I mean, life is never perfect. We know that the human situation, we have so many challenges, things don't go right, life always falls apart. A lot of the things that we want to happen, they don't happen, or things happen that we don't want to happen, they do happen. But despite all of that, from a spiritual point of view, according to Buddha Dharma, despite all the difficulties and sufferings and imperfections of human life, from a spiritual point of view, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. We have a lot of freedoms, we have opportunities, and we have a very great potential as human beings. As Lama Yeshe said, we are very, very powerful beings as human beings if we know how to use it. So we have a lot of freedoms, and we also have endowments. We have a lot of good things. For example, we can develop love and compassion. We have capabilities, we have skills, powers, and we have also human intelligence, and that's really something. So the 8 freedoms that we have now are not being born as a hell being, as a hungry ghost animal, long life God, being born in a place where no Buddha has descended, being born in a barbarian or an irreligious country, being born with imperfect faculties, and being born with wrong views. So we are free of these 8. I would like to actually give a few quotes from Master Shantideva. Shantideva said, just as a flash of lightning on a dark, cloudy night for an instant brightly illuminates all. Likewise, in this world, through the might of the Buddha, a wholesome thought rarely and briefly appears. And the second would be, quote would be, leisure and endowment are very hard to find. And since they accomplish what is meaningful for man, if I do not take advantage of them now, how will such a perfect opportunity come about again? So these 8 freedoms, and we could take them literally. So we could understand them from a literal point of view, but also it's possible to work with them metaphorically, to see them as metaphors for the different states of mind that each of us go through in a given day. So, for example, you know, the hell realm is characterized by a lot of anger and intention to harm. So, and we have those seeds. We have the seeds from the lower realms in our life. We can feel them popping up once in a while or often, sometimes. For example, if we have a lot of anger, then it would be like a hellish experience. We cannot enjoy our life. We cannot even sleep. We cannot relax. We lose our ability to think clearly, our rational thinking, and you know, it damages so much merit that we've created over many eons. They can be destroyed like a forest fire in a split second. So, you know, we know it when we experience anger, then it's very difficult to do anything else. So, and as a hungry ghosts are tormented by a lot of desires that they can't fulfill. Well, guess what? We also have that kind of experience as humans. We believe that, you know, by fulfilling certain desires, then our life will be perfect. So we miss our appointment with life and we keep chasing after rainbows or drinking salt water, as Buddha said, and we just become even more and more thirsty. And as animals, we're just dumb and stupid and lazy. So ignorance is the main characteristic of animals. So we also have this when, you know, we just want to have, we're just thinking about food all the time, thinking about, you know, sensory pleasures all the time, and we're just being ignorant and dumb. So we're at that moment, we're actually, it's parallel to an animal realm. And the same with long life gods, you know, with gods, demigods and gods, you know, maybe we already have a lot, but we're arrogant, we're competitive, we compare ourselves to others, and we always feel that we're not enough, that we're not tall enough, we're not handsome enough, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough. Although there are so many things in life to be happy about, but we look at the negativities, we look at the things that we don't have. So we lack that appreciation. So these are, you know, some of the realms that we've definitely all of us have experienced. So the next 4, just imagine, sorry, can you just go back to, yeah, oh, sorry, next slide, correct, next slide. So I have to be aware of the timing. So, you know, we can be happy that we are now born as a human being and in a country which is not a fundamentalist country, a country which is tolerant and also allows religions to flourish. We were born with perfect organs. You know, I was wondering whether you've ever spoken to, for example, a blind person. You know, I have these, of course, there are also privileged blind persons, but in front of my house, there are street vendors, they are blind people, they're selling crackers. And, you know, they're doing that all day long in the heat, in the sun. And sometimes I talk to them and I just realize how difficult it is, life is for them, you know. So it's very hard for them to make a living and to live with one sense organ missing. So we're very lucky that we have this human body, and it has an expiry date. So we have to really use it. And we are also free from having committed the 5 heinous crimes. You know, I've visited prisons to share Dharma with prisoners, and I've also talked with some of them, and some of them are so deeply burdened by the negative deeds that they have committed. You know, it's tormenting them, and it's robbing away the opportunity to really, you know, practice Dharma. It'll create obstacles. Having committed heavy negative karma creates so many obstacles. And we also have faith in the Dharma. We also have faith. We also have an aspiration, and we also want to study to know more deeply. And the circumstantial endowments, we live in a time where Buddha has descended, where Dharma is still available. It has been revealed and it's available. The teachings are still being followed and practiced, and we all have the necessary conditions to practice Dharma. So this is really actually we should not only be grateful, we should be happy that we have these conditions right now, you know, what we have and the opportunity we have to cultivate love and compassion. And go to the next slide. So I would also like to share a little bit about what Rinpoche emphasized on why this precious human rebirth is so precious. It's not just, you know, the teachings before were mostly presented in relation to the lower scope, but Rinpoche is pointing out that being reborn as a human being is so precious because we have this great opportunity to develop loving kindness. You know, life, you know, before I knew Buddha Dharma, life was just basically had very little meaning. I was like distracted, so very much distracted, and just chasing after attachments. And now we have this very great opportunity to practice, to generate loving kindness. And this is, to me, this is one of the most important points that Rinpoche is emphasizing again and again and again, you know, to serve others, to cultivate love, to cherish others. And, you know, a life led with compassion is a life which is meaningful and energetic, and it just makes us so happy. Every single activity that we do with love, it just creates so much energy. It's we're automatically generous, you know, you just want to live to give if we have love, and it comes very naturally. We collect merit very naturally. We want to give love, we want to give whatever other people need. We also want to give Dharma, primarily not just Dharma sharing, you know, like me sharing like this is not teaching, it's sharing, but this is easy. But mainly giving Dharma in the sense of, you know, being an example and showing to inspiring others through our actions, you know, that's a lot more powerful. So we also practice Sila, the you know, the 10 vows very happily. It's not just about a negative reinforcement. It's not just about not killing and not lying, not stealing, not conducting, not any sexual misconduct and so forth, but to state it positively with having loving kindness, having compassion in our hearts, you know. The vows are practiced automatically. You know, you just cherish beings, you just respect life. You will just want to help others, and you will just want to heal others. And then you not only don't steal, but you will automatically respect the possessions of others and respect the earth and respect our limited resources, and we'll be more generous, you know. So, and then we'll also respect relationships. We won't be that very much obsessed by wanting to have our desires fulfilled, you know, not being tyrannized by desires. And then, you know, by having a good heart, our speech will be healing. the words that come out of our mouth will be helpful and useful and healing and loving. So it'll prevent us from lying. It'll prevent us from speaking harsh words. It'll prevent us from divisive speech and also idle chatter. It'll just come very automatically. So it's so beneficial. And then we will just have this joyous effort, virya, right? We will just be so happy doing good things. It's just automatic. We'll just like be ecstatic doing Dharma activities, and this is also very much what is happening in Potowa Center, with all the activities, with the cooking, with the Borobudur, it's just a labor of love. It's just creativity, it's just coming automatically. And, having this kind of love, and later on, then I understood, I began to I'm not saying that I fully understand, but I'm still learning, but I'm beginning to more and more appreciate Rinpoche's teachings, especially about Tonglen, about the Lojong teachings, about serving others. They're just so powerful. They instantly improve your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others. You will heal relationships. You will be more creative. You will be more energetic. You will be more intelligent. You will have more initiative. The benefits are countless, and you will just have more energy in the body. The body just pumps out all these feel-good hormones, and it's just so nice and so meaningful to live like that. And then we won't die with any regrets. I mean, life is still not perfect. It'll still always go up and down. It'll still be uncertain, and it can't be relied upon, but Dharma can be relied upon. And it's just amazing the abilities that we have if we cultivate this love, the attitude of serving others. All the other skills will just come automatically, and life we'll just jump, move. We'll just move from joy to joy, right? So Rinpoche often quotes that making innumerable offerings to the Buddhas and offering 300 different food items every day does not even compare to generating loving kindness towards sentient beings for even a single second. And Rinpoche mentions that cherishing sentient beings are precious, holding them very, very dear is loving kindness. If you practice loving kindness, if you practice bodhicitta, this is the best protection from life's dangers. Okay, next slide. Rinpoche also mentioned in one of his videos about the benefits of loving kindness. The gods and humans will love you. They also say that you will have a beautiful complexion. You don't have to wear that much makeup, and you'll just be naturally healthy because all your channels are open in the body. The devas and humans will protect you. You will have happiness of mind and many, many happinesses. You won't be harmed by poisons and weapons. Without effort, you will achieve success. And this is so true. We will successfully, more easily be successful in all our endeavors. And then we will also be born in the world of Brahma. So the benefits are countless. And also personally, I feel that, generating love and compassion and bodhicitta before a meditation, it really helps for the meditation. Okay, so next slide. So I don't know if we have, I just realized now it's already, 11:30. It's at what time is it now? Sorry. So I don't know. I was thinking of doing the discussions later after the second video, because we're running a little bit out of time. So if we can just run the second video, it will be a 16-minute video.
I mentioned that Dwanga this way, you know, these fangs in the light, you're in the mouth of the Yama. Yeah, I mean, the impermanence is nature impermanence and the impermanence. So, holding like this, but any time can be any time can be like this, you know, mouth can close. So anytime the death can happen. You never know, never you know. By next time this year, you're somewhere else. Never know, hell or devil realm, never know where. By this time next year. You know, and tomorrow, by the time tomorrow, we can't say. You know, you can close the mouth, you're inside now, between fangs, but it can close any time. So that's very good meditation, can close any time. Yeah? Can close any time. So death can happen any time. You never know. So even recently, I think in America or somewhere, yeah, just people in the house, I think just suddenly died. So I forgot. Pindi's father, mother talking in the house. They talking each other. And the father went with this. And during that time, mother did. They were talking. They were just talking each other, father, mother. Then the father went through this way. The mother dead. You see? Yeah, so, so that always happened that. So yeah. One student here, she wanted to become a nun so much. So, but that Kandula would see, Kandula of course, but Kandula, she's young, and the thing about Kandula didn't inspire her to become a nun. Of course, Kandula can see past, present, future. So since she died here in toilet, she died here in bathroom. I forgot her name. I have a big Buddha in my room, big Buddha. There was, I told them to make for her birth, for her purification, good birth. So I was thinking that her father to keep the Buddha in the house, but the father didn't want to. So I have it in my room. I forgot her name. Then another student, Iran lady, what's her name? She was here many years, always drunk. When she comes to Kopan, always drunk. What's her name? Mandana. Her husband is a bank, old bank manager or World Bank or something very high as a work. Very good human being. So she died in England. She died in England in bathroom. Yeah. I think maybe slight, maybe slipped out. Then the Chinese, two Chinese nuns we have a long time ago in America, in Kamabajang, Shineland, Kamabajang, therefore to practice Shine, I got that one. So her name is Dechen. So
they were there for some years. Then she, well, I think she died a few days ago. So she was found in the bathroom. You know, in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet. Maybe some blood or something. So anyway, we didn't know that. Who died a few days ago. I mean, yes. So, huh?
I thought it was years ago.
No, it was a few days before they found her.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, all right. And then, yeah, I really can't say. So, all like that at the time can happen. But I think that is the most important meditation. That's because well, I haven't started Bhaja, but my last advice is that, to remember, to always remember mindfulness, to always remember impermanence. That's my last very important advice. Very important advice. I think that was also Buddha's advice now to the disciples. So that. You see, so Kadamba Geshe Sharma said, even you have 100 qualities, but you are under one mistake. And then you go to choose. And then you go to choose. So, so many, so many degrees from universities, what this, no, that, no, that, no. So many, like that, But then one, even Dharma, I know this, I know Madame Mika, I know Panavatika, this is, you see. But if you haven't thought impermanence is dead, then there's concept of permanence. So you are alive at the end of control of the hallucination concept. So even you have 100 qualities, but you are into one mistakes. So learn it in Dharma text, or so many things. But it's never thought impermanence that. Or yourself. Over yourself, you say, so then always you live concept of permanence. Or I will live very long, I will live long. Or, always concept of permanence. So then, you see, then your action, body, spirit, mind, is big Dharma. Your action, body, spirit, mind, you will learn it, Dharma, yes. Unbelievable. But you see, you never think impairment. You're alive, impairment, death, you never think. So I'm going to live a long time. So then, you see, your action, body, spirit, mind, doesn't make a Dharma. So that's, so here, even you are expert in Dharma, but you waste your life. You understand? So that's, yeah, did this, but you see, never, this impairment, your own life, impairment that, you didn't think. So always a wrong concept, permanence. Oh, so that's a Kadamba Geshe Sharma. So even living in monastery, doing extended study, understanding and can explain, but never thought impairment is dead. So your actions with the concept of permanence, then because your action didn't bring Dharma. So then you see that happens. Then come to then you can you cheated yourself. You see, that's why I come to know totally. There's more words, but so as I said, as I told before, I think same thing, even you are not learning Dharma, but you see lot of degree, a lot of education, science, this and that, so many things, but never thought about your life impairments. So then you see, suddenly, we always live with the concept of permanence. Then suddenly when it happens, that then so regret, so upset, so regret, because we didn't expect. So if you normally meditate, or if you normally think mindful in your life, the impairments that you see, if you practice mindfulness, you see every day, remember the awareness in that. So that even when death comes suddenly, you're not surprised, you're not worried. Because you did preparation because of think mindfulness, that. So you did already preparation. You see, so future life. The kasari. To be happiness, what are the happiness? Then liberation for some time, then enlightenment. Thinking impairment that is in. So then you have no worry at that time of death, when the time of death comes, and the actual time of death comes. So anyway, even for business people, it's easier. So normally you think, so therefore it's easier. So like that, see, but normally you don't think. So then it's incredible fear and can be anger, that Japanese boy, incredible fear. Then of course, then there's a culture, next life, reincarnation, then good birth, the higher birth, Nirgama Lord birth. That's another one. So here it says, so it's good, body is here now, body is in your bed, body is here, but by the time tomorrow, the body can be on the firewood, burned, skulls coming out, we say skulls. So, you see, anytime this can happen. This is so good. So good, even meditating, saying that you are dying. Now you are dying. See, and holding what is supposed to happen. You see, going to cemetery, bodies, by the time tomorrow, the cemetery and the fire, next year or next month or next week or tomorrow. You see, body could be there. You see, that's so good. Good meditation. So good meditation. That so that, yeah, to meditate, to think that. So it's a reality. See? So then you see attachment to this, that, anger to this, then you see, then you have there's no purpose to be angry, to be attached, this, all the problems. So there's no reason to have anger attachment. You see, the mind is great peace. So free from attachment, free from anger, So that, yeah. So now I'm about to finish.
All right. Thank you. There was another very beautiful teaching from Rinpoche. So this is a topic which, to a lot of people might seem depressing to think about death. But actually the purpose to contemplate about death is to make us appreciate each moment of our lives. So, and also to gradually chip on our habitual obsession with the illusory appearances of life. So by thinking about death, it's a very powerful way also to cut through our negative emotions. And I've seen even some of our friends in Potowa who have almost died. It has transformed them a lot. One of our friends had pneumonia, and some of our other friends, one of my other friends, he died, and thinking about death, actually it changes our priorities about our priorities about life. So there are so many benefits of contemplating death, and the Buddha said that it's actually one of the most powerful meditations. Of all the footprints in the forest from all the animals, the footprint of the elephant is the biggest and the deepest, and so is the meditation on death. So we kind of like to avoid it because we think it's morbid, or we think that, as Rinpoche said, we think that life is still very, very long. It'll still last very long. I mean, we're actually deluding ourselves by assuming that life will be here for a long time. But we know that life is very, very short. We know that we won't be here for a long time, and we should think about what we want to do with the rest of the time that we have. Very often, death is considered to be a taboo. It spoils our day, and we think that we can't do anything about it. I mean, it's true that there is death will happen to everyone, but being oblivious about it is an attitude that will not help at all. So since we all have to face death, wouldn't it be great to be prepared? I mean, we're, as humans, a lot of humans take pride in the ability to think, and that's why a lot of scientists say that humans are on top of the food chain, and we're the top of beings, beings in existence. But we plan so many things, when to, where to work, when to buy a house, when to get married, how many kids to have. We have it all figured out. We plan it all, although we know that very, very often our plans are not realized. very often life doesn't go as planned. But usually we don't put a death into the equation. We usually don't include, death into our planning. So we are probably aware that we are going to die, but it's not enough to make us do something about it. Sometimes I think that it's like like smokers. On the cigarette you have a picture of people with cancer, a throat cancer, and you have all kinds of warnings. You could be you can lose your life, you can get heart disease, you can get gum cancer and lung cancer and all that, but people smoke anyway. So in a way, we're also like that. I mean, we know that we're going to die, but we assume that the awareness is not strong enough, and we don't like to talk about it. But maybe it's also because we think death is something terrible, that it will be something very painful and very depressing, but it doesn't have to be. So death can be a very great opportunity, and also thinking about death can reduce our attachment to this life, to focusing too much on attachment to this life. And to be able to take the essence of this life, we need to think often, contemplate daily about death. This is also what the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, often mentions, is that he's doing death meditation every single day. And that puts things into perspective. We will know what's really important in our life and what's not important. And also, as Rinpoche said, death meditation, and also thinking about the precious human rebirth and about the lower realms, in a way they are also meditations on compassion, because this is our common predicament. This is what we all have to go through. And although death awareness and is what's part of what's called the 4 reminders that turn the mind, which is precious human rebirth, death and impermanence, causation, the infallibility of karma, and lastly the sufferings of samsara. They can be also done, the contemplations can be done with a Mahayana motivation, with bodhicitta, and they take on a different meaning, a higher meaning, because compassion is there. And I also, because my parents, they live with me. My father is 81 and he's gradually losing his memory through dementia. And my mother's diabetic, and my father and mother both have a heart disease, a heart condition. But I have the great fortune to be able to take care of them every day, to be with them and to share love with them. And being aware that, they're not going to be here for a long time, and neither am I, it changes your relationship with people. It softens your heart. It softens the world in your eyes. Because, why should we harm each other, and why should we hate each other if we're just here for a short time? If we're, everybody laughs sometimes, everybody wants to be happy, and sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. We're all the same, and we're all here, not going to be here for a long time. So by thinking about it, should make us even more enthusiastic about life, should make us stop wasting life in things that don't have much meaning. So we can move on to the next slide. So why should we remember death? We remember death, by remembering death, we will remember that death is a part of life, and we have this precious human rebirth now. But very often we have all these buts, but it's not good enough, I don't have enough money, or whatever it is. We have these excuses. So what also happened to a friend of mine who told me this story is that he was in an airplane flight, and the plane was about to crash, and nobody in the plane was worried about the food. You know, nobody was complaining about body odor or about whether your hair matches your clothing. You know, at that moment, what was that there was this common humanity, that everybody in the plane was about to die, and then there was this love. It's quite amazing that this happened, is that people started to care for each other. And this should be our death meditation, should have this kind of an effect. I've seen this in people who have cancer, and one of my friends, she has HIV, and she was depressed for maybe a year or something and suicidal. But afterwards, she actually told me that she wouldn't have transformed into the person that she is now, into a caring person. And she's also helping people with the same condition. And she starts caring for children and do things really out of love, because she knows that she won't be here for long. And she says that it's so precious, that her HIV made her life so meaningful. So, you know, sometimes we need that kind of a scare, you know, to wake up. Sometimes, and to me, it's I see my parents every day. It's like a reminder every day, and it's very powerful. And remember that we don't have all the time in the world. Our time is limited. Worldly matters, they are never ending. But if we have compassion, then we can transform our worldly matters and, you know, business into things that really matter, that bring benefit to other people. That would be most ideal, you know. And, you know, as Rinpoche mentioned, life can end any time. The account that Rinpoche gave of the husband and wife talking, and the husband was just looking away for a second and looking back at the wife, and she was dead already. And that's, you know, when I went to my alma mater university, we had a reunion with some friends, and all these people were dead already. All the some of the professors, some of them were really nice people, and so many died. So we should always remember that. It should not make us depressed, but it should make us even appreciate life more and want to take the essence of our life. Okay, so next slide. So there is an unskillful way to recall death, and also a skillful way. So we should not fall into despair and depression, and also we shouldn't fear losing our loved ones, you know, because actually what I told my mother, sometimes I remind my mother that, you know, you and dad, you're not going to be here for a long time. So, you know, why argue? And I mean, sometimes my parents argue for like 2 minutes or something, but not much. But it's good actually to remember death and impermanence, even for relationships, because you will appreciate it more, that you will be here together only for a short time. And one of you has to go first, or both of you maybe die together. There's that possibility if you die in a plane crash or in an accident, but usually one has to die first. And we should be ready for that, you know. So when I see my father and mother, I always have that in mind, that, you know, all I have in my heart is I just want to give them love and understanding, and also maybe share with them about generosity, about the benefits of giving and kindness, and so that they will use the last years, if they have still a few years, I hope, of their life, to start benefiting others more, you know. So I've seen that with my grandmother. The last 12 years, her life was really pretty much, you know, very much a huge challenge, you know, 3 failed marriages, and then, you know, so many disasters happening. But then the last maybe 10 to 12 years of her life, she used it only to benefit others all the time, you know. So I think that's a great way to remember death, to make us more compassionate and kind, and for us to rejoice in goodness, and to perform virtues, to collect merit. So the skillful way is we shouldn't let fear paralyze us, but by recollecting, remembering that we don't have much time left, that it should spur us to practice meditation and to practice the vows, you know, the silas, the vows, and so forth. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so there are many benefits of contemplating death. So we will practice the Dharma purely. We will also, you know, death awareness has the power to destroy delusions, like almost instantly. Certain delusions, not all of them, but certain delusions, especially if we have strong attachment to this life. What I saw with my friend who has HIV, her priorities changed completely, you know, after she got the disease. And also the wife of my employee, my lawyer in the office, she had cancer, and that also changed everything. But it, you know, because they had also virtue, I believe, it became something positive, you know. It made the family closer, it made them more loving. So she actually had a good death, you know. So you know, we rarely hear that because we don't want to think about it, but I've seen that also, good deaths. So in the beginning, it'll inspire us to practice more, to practice Dharma. In the middle, it'll inspire us to practice with a lot of effort and enthusiasm. And at the end, it brings our practice to completion. And then we won't have any regrets, you know. When it's time to say goodbye, we won't regret it. You know, when we go to the old home, to the nursing homes, very often we also sit with people and just hold their hands and just listen to their stories. And very often, what one of the gentlemen, a 72-year-old gentleman, told me was about a lot of the regrets of the past and also fearing the future. So, you know, if we are already used to thinking about death and we already are aware of it, we won't be surprised when it comes. And, you know, at the time of death, Rinpoche is very big on the practice of Tonglen. And I was so struck. The first time in this life that I got into contact with Tonglen was through Lama Zopa Rinpoche's teacher, through one of his books, Geshe Rabten and Geshe Darkye. And to me, it was just amazing that this kind of practice existed. And in fact, this practice actually flourished in Indonesia. There's a carving, it's carved in Borobudur in one of the stories of Maitra Kanyaka. And, you know, we should practice Tonglen very often. So when the time of our death comes, you know, we can practice the 5 powers and we can generate compassion and we can die for the sake of others. At the time of death, when we have a lot of pain, when we have cancer, then we can use it instead of wallowing in self-pity and being, you know, totally depressed and so forth. You know, as Rinpoche pointed out, we can use it. We can use the suffering in our lives, in our daily lives, and at the time of death, to use it for the benefit of others, you know, to open our hearts. It's such a powerful practice. We're so lucky, you know, we are so fortunate that we met Rinpoche and we met these teachings, and we can do it now, you know, we can practice it now. So this is something we can really rejoice about. Okay, next slide. If we don't remember death and we put it off, then we won't remember to practice Dharma. We won't, even if we do practice, it's maybe nominal. Maybe we do it just to meet a certain obligation, or just to show it, to demonstrate to others, but we won't practice it well, and we won't practice it purely. and we won't practice it seriously, and maybe even vulgarly, so it might even be done to cover up something, or it might even be hypocritical. And life moves very, very swiftly. We don't have much time, and if we don't do something now, then we'll have a intense regret, and we'll think that we should have done something useful, but we didn't. I've seen this with some people that I met in the old home. They regret that they should have done something with their lives, but they didn't do it. So now that we're still healthy, and we can still think straight, it's important to use this opportunity. Okay, next slide. So it's not uncommon, right? In the Buddhist tradition, it's actually a very important meditation, and it reminds us also of impermanence. It's interesting that impermanence, anitya in Sanskrit, it also contains the nuance of uncertainty. So life is uncertain, it's impermanent, and it has to end, and you cannot rely on it. You cannot rely on human life. We might make plans, that if I retire, I want to retire healthy and make financial planning and all that, but it might be the case that none of that will happen. I've seen that a lot in people where they make all these nice plans for retirement, but then they don't reach the age of retirement that they wanted to. So we should disown. I wonder how many of us here have already written a will. If you have possessions, have you whether we've already signed it away to other people or to some charitable organization? It's good to do that, to remember that, so we're not really attached to our possessions. The Islamic community in Indonesia, they have a saying that we never really own anything. It's only borrowed. All our possessions are only borrowed. So that's actually a good attitude to have, to not think that we can own anything. And in the higher teachings of Buddhism, we can't really own anything anyway. If we know that on the teachings of selflessness, there can never be an I, a permanent I, which is separate from everything else, independent, which can own something. Owning something means to be able to control it. And what can we control in life? There's nothing that we can control. So, letting go with having this kind of attitude of letting go, and a realistic attitude, this will soften our heart. This will make us more mellow. This will make us, we will open our heart to kindness. We will rejoice in goodness, and we will do good deeds, because that is all that we carry with us. So this life is impermanent, but actually, the consciousness, the mental mind stream is infinite. So we will go to the next life with all the good and bad karmas that we've created. We always have to remember that. So this will also motivate us to do good. So the next slide. This is the common trajectory of human beings. We're born as babies, and then we grow up as kids. We get an education, we graduate from college, we get a job, and maybe get a family, and grow old, and then die. So we all have to die. It's very, very certain. There's nobody who doesn't have to die, despite all the research that's going. Like Jeff Bezos is trying to create an elixir of immortality, literally, but we all have to die. Our lifespan is continually decreasing. It's like we're running out of time and running out of life force, and there's little time to practice Dharma, especially for us who are busy working. We should transform all of our life into a Dharma practice, raising kids, working in an office. It can be transformed into a place to share knowledge, to share wisdom, to share, love and compassion. It's very possible, if the leader in a company is compassionate. And, so running a company could be also as a means of as a skillful means to share wisdom to other people. So the conclusion of doing this kind of death meditation is like a decision that because death is certain, I must prepare. We must be prepared. We must prepare our mind and our hearts, and therefore we must practice Dharma and not waste any time. So we can go to the next slide now. This is actually the last slide. There's actually a lot of things that I still wanted to talk about, but we're running short on time, so maybe we can have a discussion session if you like. If anyone wants to share something, please just open your microphone and your video, and please do so. Thank you very much.
You can type your question into the chat box also. Anyone?
While waiting, I can also share with you that, last year I had dengue fever, and, I felt so alone because, at home, I was working from home and I had the windows open, and all these mosquitoes came in. I didn't know that, and I didn't want to kill them. So maybe, they took some of my blood, but then I got dengue fever, and I just realized that death at that moment, when at the peak of the illness, I realized that you're really alone. At the time you're dying, you are really, really alone. So, to me, it was a powerful feeling, to think about. I was losing weight and losing appetite, and it just wouldn't go away. The sickness, it lasted maybe for 2 weeks, and maybe until it fully healed, it took a month. But that encounter, it wasn't an encounter with death, but it was a life-threatening illness, and that was a good opportunity to contemplate, to experience a life-threatening situation. And I also got to know the kindness, when I had the accident back in 1998. I'm also very grateful to my mother. She would give me not just the evening, foot massages when my leg became so painful because it was broken in so many places. But also my mother, she bought me all these books authored by Lama Zopa Rinpoche and His Holiness Dalai Lama and Geshe Dindun and Ellen Wallace. And, there was pain became, that kind of pain became a great teacher for me, because it weeded out, the attachments to life. So suffering can be transformed, as Rinpoche explains very detailed in his book, Transforming Problems. The technique offered by the Lojong tradition is just amazing. And if we do that, then I believe that we can face death, happily, basically, and face death being completely ready. Okay, so anyone, if you like to share anything, please do so.
Yeah. Hello. Hi, Guido.
Hi.
I'm Oilun from Malaysia, and
Hello.
I really rejoice at what Potowa Center has been doing. It's amazing, and I'm sure the benefits of it will really flow on to the rest of this part of Southeast Asia, at least. You know, we need so much validation of what Dharma has been in the past. So I'm really, really rejoiced. I really hope that one day we can have organize a journey to Borobudur, and you can tell us more about it. Yeah, you know, but and your talk was really interesting because it brought to mind that the denial of death is so strong, because we can see that in people who are in hospitals and they are dying on life support, and their families are still trying to get another solution for prolonged life, maybe a little bit more time, 2 days more, 3 days more. They're not thinking of how shall we make best use of this time, you know. It's more like, shall we just prolong time, anything? It's sort of like they're just clinging to life, and they can't understand what that time use. You get one more day, so what? Yeah, so yeah. And I suppose it does call for a lot of merit for somebody to be able to, at the last minute, meet up with somebody who can just show them a little bit of light about dying well. That's just brought to that. That's what came to my mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oilun. That for your sharing. Very nice. Yes. So about Borobudur, you know, we'd be happy. You know, if we could, you know, one day, maybe also have also a session about Borobudur, and then do the trip to Borobudur. Borobudur would take on a totally different meaning, because, you know, looking at Borobudur, knowing that it's one of the world wonders, and to see it in stone, it's spectacular as a backdrop. But knowing what Borobudur truly is, you know, the whole story behind it, the whole purpose behind it, the whole roadmap, knowing what it is, it would take years to study it, to even to scratch the surface. But I think this would be this is an amazing opportunity to introduce original Indonesian Buddha Dharma, homegrown Buddha Dharma in Indonesia, and to revive Buddha Dharma in Indonesia. Because Indonesia now is a predominantly Islam Muslim country. That's okay, but, you know, Buddha Dharma still exists in the Javanese culture, in the way they do things, in the rituals that they do, in the proverbs that exist, and even in the Javanese language. And we're also very happy to report, and based on the advice and also the supervision of Salim Lee, we're also having a big program in Java. So we're also translating the sutras, the Borobudur sutras, into Javanese, because there are also a lot of Buddhists in Java. And we actually want to incite the curiosity of the Indonesian people, because I really think that people who have goodness and who are intelligent, regardless of the religion, they will definitely appreciate the very great values of Borobudur. These are universal human spiritual values. And if people in Indonesia know this, you know, we will actually, you know, spread Buddha Dharma without having to call it Buddha Dharma. Just saying that this is the Indonesian tradition. People know it anyway, that it is Buddhism. But Indonesians can feel proud of their heritage, and, you know, the greatness of Indonesia's past, you know, being learned and very spiritual. So we're very, very excited about this, and we hope also to most of the symposia and the seminars with the webinars are conducted in Indonesian thus far. We've had one in English, but we also hope to do it more in English, because it seems that the world community, a lot of the people in the world, are very curious about Borobudur. So we'll be doing that more and more. So yes, thank you for that. We'd be happy to, you know, once the you know, the COVID eases even more, and, you know, we have more visits to Borobudur, definitely. And yes, thank you for sharing about death. So that's why, you know, we should be really happy, because just look at us, you know, just imagine. Sometimes I imagine how my life would be without Dharma, you know, so much anxiety and worry and doubts. And just imagine not knowing what to do with life and just being obsessed and just running around after desires and not knowing the purpose of life. So we are here extremely fortunate. You know, we have found the Buddha Dharma. We have found the meaning, the true meaning of life. We've met an extraordinary teacher, Lama Zopa Rinpoche and His Holiness, and all those great teachers. And teachers who have you know, treaded and who have completed the path to awakening. And you know, Rinpoche has so kindly over so many years, you know, continued to teach and teach and teach, you know, and so lovingly and so wisely he's been, you know, this flawless example, you know, of Dharma practice. And you know, I've had the great honor of being the translator for Rinpoche, for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and also for Chöden Rinpoche. And you know, being in the presence of this holy being is transformative. Just by absorbing their energy, their bodhicitta, is just so calming. You know, one of my friends even told me that when we had the retreat, and he came and he said that his neurosis, it just vanished, uh, like miraculously, and a lot of his you know, mental issues, they just vanish. And I believe that's the power of bodhicitta, the power of awakening. So, you know, we now have all these conditions to practice Dharma. We don't have to be slaves to our ignorance anymore. We have the ideal condition. Of course, life isn't perfect. We still have problems, but this is the ideal condition right now, the ideal time. So we should use it, you know, don't lose it. We shouldn't waste it in meaningless activities. And, you know, it's extremely, as Shantideva, Arya Shantideva mentioned, it's very, very rare and difficult to obtain a life like this. We think, you know, there are 7 or 8 billion people on earth, and, you know, everybody has a, you know, human life, but very few people met the Dharma. And fewer still have an interest to practice the Dharma, and fewer still have met a qualified teacher, and even fewer still have complete confidence and are fully committed to treading the path. So at this very moment, you know, so many people are depressed and confused and feeling sad and lonely, and are, you know, totally drowning in hopelessness, and you know, facing sicknesses, you know, as you shared just now, without knowing what to do. So we here, we all have the tools with us, readily available. So now it's up to us. It's our call to practice. And this is really the time to practice. And, you know, thinking about the sufferings of samsara shouldn't make us depressed. It should cause us even more compassion, you know. And if we feel our own pain, our own human situation, then it's easier for us to relate to the pain of other people, you know, so we can then have really practice compassion and practice bodhicitta for other people. And it's really, I mean, what else do we want to do besides, you know, life just doesn't work if we just keep on chasing desires. And you know, our strategy has been to chase desires all the time, and also to try to prevent you know, unpleasant things. But it doesn't work. That strategy doesn't work. Just look at our life now. So I'm sure that a lot of us, we've tried so many things, you know, we've tried relationships, we've tried, you know, obtaining more, getting more money, obtaining a new job, a new house, a new car, maybe a new husband or a new wife. But still we're not happy. We're still unsettled, because this is the characteristic of samsara. You know, samsara always reveals its true nature. So now, you know, we should try this one. We should really do this one. And then we can see that life will transform for the better. And then having compassion and kindness, in our hearts, it changes everything. It's not just an attitude, it's also a perspective, because the way we see the world completely changes with compassion. In the hell realms, if we have anger, we see the world through the filter of anger, and everything appears to be unpleasant. Everything seems to be against us. So this is an alternate way to explain the hell realm, is that if we have anger, then everything seems to be against us. Life is against us, and everything is unpleasant, and and when we try to manipulate our external circumstances, and it doesn't work. So what Rinpoche is telling us, cultivate compassion, and then the way we change the world, it changes completely. Taking care of parents is not always easy, but to me, it's never been a burden, the slightest bit, because I just love them so much. So I don't mind, anything, that makes them happy. And even with, my father's dementia is also coupled with a change in character. It can be very surprising, but having compassion, it's easier to understand, and it's easier to love them the way they are. And sometimes all we can do is just love people. And this kind of love, it transforms people. If people know that we love them, we care about them, it can really touch their hearts. And even if a heart has turned to stone, it can become soft again through the power of love. So anyway, thank you for your sharing just now. Thank you very much.
Guido,
Yep.
we're coming up to time, but I think if you want to just answer one more question, this is from the chat box.
Okay.
Would you kindly elaborate on the huge site of Muara Jambi? Is there any connection between Muara Jambi and Borobudur? Perhaps just a brief.
That's a wonderful question.
We can respond.
We should have a dedicated session on Borobudur and also a dedicated session on Muara Jambi. But this is also what we're trying to identify now, is to establish the link. But there's definitely a connection there. But to prove it, because the inscriptions that we have are quite limited. But there's definitely a connection. When we went there to Muara Jambi with Choden Rinpoche, Choden Rinpoche at the time said, this is a place where many great masters studied and meditated. And, Choden Rinpoche, to hear that come out of the holy mouth of Choden Rinpoche was really extraordinary. And Borobudur could never have been built without, not just the skill of the craftsman, but the whole idea of Borobudur must have been created by a lot of highly spiritually educated people, highly spiritual people. This was, created by an enlightened being, or enlightened beings, many enlightened beings, to be able to create a masterpiece, a monument of kindness of Borobudur. So definitely there's a connection. But because at the time they didn't have USBs, they didn't have clouds, you didn't have photographs and ebooks, so it's difficult to prove it. But there is a very high likelihood that they must have been connected, because they're both in Indonesia, and they both coexisted. Borobudur was completed in circa 872, in the year 872, and by that time the Morojani University, monastic university, already existed prior to that, maybe even from the 7th century, definitely. So just the fact that geographically they're in the same country, in Indonesia, there must have been a connection. And because you had exchange students also from all around the world, and Indonesia was a maritime country, Indonesia had a lot of shipping technology, so it must have been there must have been a very strong connection. And just to an additional note, Borobudur is not a single monument. Borobudur is just one monument from a big Buddhist complex. And the United Nations, the UNESCO at the times, decided only to restore Borobudur. But the whole area in Borobudur is paved. So there must have been, monks living there. There must have been many other buildings. But, the UNESCO decided only to restore the central monument. Whereas with regard to the monastic university of Morojambi, it's amazing that it's for almost 4,000 hectares large. It's 100 times bigger than Nalanda University. So it must have been, fantastic. I mean, I Ching, the monk, the exploring monk I Ching, he mentioned in his book, which we also translated, and it was published by the Ministry of Culture and Education. I Ching mentioned that there were thousands upon thousands of monks in this area, which was called Moloyo at the time, and that must have referred to Morojambi. So we should all rejoice, So and Indonesia has, because of our research, have turned this also into, prioritized this into one of Indonesia's cultural heritages, but not just as a government building, but now it takes on a totally different meaning, because now people know it's a very great university where they taught the five great subjects, but also architecture and medicine, astrology, and many other great subjects. And in fact, the president of Indonesia was just there. I believe it was this month, and it was also thanks to all our efforts that it was eventually recognized. We're not taking credit because it was a team effort. It also involved the professor from the University of Indonesia and also the Architectural Association and many archaeologists in Indonesia. But now it's recognized finally as a great university. So we can all rejoice. Thank you for that question.
Would you like to wrap up, Guido, with the dedication? And then I can explain.
Selina,
Yes.
there's another question.
Oh, sorry, I missed the chat box. Okay, this is an interesting question, Guido. So perhaps we'll address this as well. I'll just summarize, because it's quite long. But generally, the person is saying that there is a radical movement which readily embraces death with the promise of permanent reward in the afterlife. So while it is easy to scoff at such a point of view, in the eyes of these people, they are actually righteously practicing their teachings. So can you elaborate on how the practice of Dharma can protect us from such radicalism?
Yes, thank you. It's a very deep question. It's a wonderful question. This is why, having wrong views is also listed among one of the unfortunate circumstances. And, cancer can kill you, AIDS can kill you, but the worst thing that can happen is that you die. But wrong views, just imagine, it can be carried over many lifetimes. And, having this kind of a wrong view, it's very hard because it can last for millions of years. So it's unfortunate that some people are born as humans, but I knew somebody, a Balinese, and he really believed that you have to kill animals, to please the gods. And this was actually my sister's father-in-law, and he said that it's wonderful to kill, and during certain ceremonies, all these animals are coming and they're offering themselves to be killed. And at the time, my sister freaked out and she said, okay, so why don't we just kill babies, you know? And he freaked out, you know. This kind of a mistaken view is really very, very unfortunate and very dangerous. And I think the only thing that what we can do is that I believe that bodhicitta conquers all. Love and compassion conquers everything, but it may take time. It may take lifetimes. But what we can do, you know, if we have the opportunity, if we come across somebody who has certain views, certain incorrect views, it would be good to, I mean, we don't have to give a lecture about bodhicitta or about the Heart Sutra, but at least we can show them an attitude of caring and love. And eventually, you know, I've seen people where it can eventually soften their heart. You know, I've seen, you know, there are stories in Indonesia where, you know, thieves and robbers who were about to be killed in the streets was saved by somebody who just had love for this person, and it had a transformative effect. So all of us here, should spur us to think that, you know, what we can do now is limited. This is exactly the reason why we should become a high level bodhisattva and a Buddha, because in that case, by that time, then we can really be of benefit to other people. And this is what we want to do. You know, deep down in our hearts, we all just want to benefit people. We know it. We know that's what we want to do. You know, deep down in our hearts, we all just want to be good people, and we want to be, you know, to be useful. And the best way to be useful is to be enlightened. So we should tread the path, and not just for ourselves, but for others. You know, then it becomes so much more powerful. It will be as if it's turbocharged by bodhicitta, by this incredible, powerful energy of ultimate compassion and love and wisdom. And then, you know, to the extent that we are awake, to that extent, we can also benefit others. So we should become more and more awake by practicing this path, and that will also be the path to our happiness ourselves, you know. So we will eat the cake, we will have the cake and eat it too, you know. We will have both. We know that that is the best way to be happy, is to serve others. You know, it really is the best way. And just look at Rinpoche as an example, you know, as a flawless example. He's just serving others all the time, you know, just so nothing for himself at all, you know, nothing for himself. It's just so inspiring to watch Rinpoche, not just when he's teaching, but, you know, when he was in Indonesia and we had some private sessions, you know, or even when Rinpoche was walking into the room. And, you know, I remember that Rinpoche had this scent. I don't know how to describe it, but Rinpoche just had the smell of a very holy being. It was something like incense. It's really amazing. And while walking into the room to give a lecture into the grand ballroom, Rinpoche talked with some people, and it was just so intimate and so loving. And Rinpoche was just fully there, you know. And I saw some people, they just started crying when Rinpoche just touched their hand or just looked at them. And sometimes Rinpoche would just ask, you know, what's your name? Where are you from? But the love behind those words were just so powerful. So it's like Rinpoche, by asking, what's your name? It's like Rinpoche saying, I love you so much, you know. I want you to be happy, and please practice these teachings. So it's not what we say to other people, but it's how we conduct our lives. And it's the energy of bodhicitta that really can transform people and transform your life. So thank you for that. Thank you for that question. I don't know how else to answer that. So now, do we come to the dedication? Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for attending this sharing session. My knowledge is also still very limited, so I just shared to the best of my ability. I hope it was useful, and thank you, everyone. I wanted to put in Shantideva, Arya Shantideva's dedication. So maybe let's just close our eyes. And first of all, let's just rejoice. Rejoice that we met Rinpoche, that we met Buddha Dharma, that we have this opportunity to study Dharma, together and to do something useful together. This is really something very rare and very amazing. So we should really rejoice. It enhances our merits enormously. So I don't exactly remember Arya Santideva's prayer, but I will paraphrase. So by the power of all of us gathered here together, this positive energy, this energy of goodness, may it heal all the sufferings in the world, especially COVID that is still going on in the world, may it be healed completely. May all the doctors become very effective in healing people. May they be loving in their hearts. May all medicines become potent, become effective. May they all have a high efficacy. May all beings obtain oceans of happiness through our merits. And may all the suffering in the world, may it disappear. May nobody ever commit any negative ill deeds or have any bad intentions towards others. May all beings who are depressed, may they find hope. May people who feel sad, may they be joyous, and may those who are lonely, may they have friends. May the blind be able to see colors and shapes, and may those who are deaf hear the sweet sound of Dharma, and may the hungry find nutritious food. Also, those who hunger for Dharma, may they meet the Dharma. May they sip the delicious elixir of immortality of Dharma. May all beings, all people and beings who are poor, may they find wealth. May those who are sad find joy, and may those who are hopeless find hope. May the rains be timely. May the sick find medicines. May the frightened find confidence. And let's also do His Holiness the Dalai Lama's favorite prayer. For as long as space remains, for as long as there are sentient beings, may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. So now we can let's dedicate to the long life of all the holy teachers, especially the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May all their holy projects come to fruition. May they have long and healthy lives. May we always receive teachings from them. May they always be close in our hearts. And let's read the dedication together. May the merits of reading and studying the Dharma be dedicated to the good health and long life and fulfillment of all holy wishes of our gurus and the happiness of all sentient beings, and their actualization of the path without delay. This prayer of dedication and persons making these dedications are empty, without inherent existence. And let's go to the last slide. I just remember there's actually the Long life prayer for Rinpoche, composed by the Most Venerable Chöden Rinpoche. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Anjuna's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers, honoring the three jewels, protector of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. All right, thank you very much. There are countless books by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, many dozens of books, which are all really good, which we have also quite a number of them translated into Indonesian. Transforming Problems into Happiness, that's the book that I referred to before. So, and then please go to the next slide. This will be the schedule for 2022. So the next session will be on the 22nd of May, the English session. And the session on the precious human rebirth and certainty of death by Big Ping will be available in Chinese, in Mandarin. All right, thank you. Do you want to do the closing? Thank you, Selina.
Thank you so much, Guido. That was incredible. I think at the end of this session, it's Sunday morning for some of us, maybe Saturday night for others. I really feel like we've spent 2 hours of our precious human life in such a wonderful and constructive manner, hopefully for the benefit of all beings going forwards. I think we are so fortunate, all of us, to have captured Lama Zopa Rinpoche as our guru, where we have received such incomparable teachings, unmistaken teachings, and also that we are part of such a wonderful community of like-minded Dharma practitioners. You know, we've only had 2 classes so far of exploring and living in the path, but even from both of you speakers, Venerable Drachom from Singapore, from yourself, Guido, from Indonesia, I hope that we can all already appreciate the sheer variety of Rinpoche students and how we are working so hard to benefit others in such a number of ways, myriad ways. And for that, truly rejoice. We really lift up our hearts and rejoice. As Guido was saying, this is not the end. There are 3 more sessions in English and also 4 more sessions in Chinese, because there's a parallel series happening in Chinese. Please join us. The next English session by Nahoko will be in a month's time on the 3 parts and the importance of renunciation. And thank you so much. Now, on the last slide, Guido, you didn't show that yet, right? I think if any of you have any further questions, Felicia, maybe if you can show that, there are some contact details that you can write to us on, or you can contact us on our Facebook page. The video that you see today will also be available on YouTube in a few days' time. So hopefully you can all keep in touch, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Selina. Thank you, Venerables. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Selina. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Venerable. Thank you, Selina.